Welcome to my show. A guest here. His name is James Boswell. Mr. James, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank
All
you
right.
for having me on board today.
Thank you so much, sir. Firstly, you are an author. You are a retired high technology executive, a lieutenant in U.S. Navy submarine for 6 years, and you're also the host of Vision in Action live podcast. And you're also an expert in comprehensive personal development. Can you please discuss more about yourself and how you're doing currently now, sir?
All right. Uh, I had felt as I neared retirement that I needed to give back to the public in recognition of the help that I received as I grew up in terms of career and pursuing what I thought was my reason for living and what would make me happy. And in doing so, I had received a lot of training, both in my business side and in as a result of being in the Navy, things that helped me do better at work. But oddly enough, all of those things tended to be ignored by most people in their personal lives. And I found that if you translated it into your personal life, there were some very powerful tools to be used to help you understand how to move your life ahead and to meet your goals. And so in the last couple of years here, I've been focusing on the Lifelong Fulfillment Initiative and trying to communicate that to the public via my podcast, via my website, and also via my book.
Right, that's very great, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. James. And can you please discuss more on your book, which is the lifelong fulfillment, sir?
Yes, sir, sure. Well, lifelong fulfillment is a initiative and approach to planning one's life so that you actually do your life by your own design and not by default to emotion, institutional pressures, acculturation that we come into this world with. And it's designed to answer the changing set of interests that people have over the course of their life, because your interests at age 20 are very different from your interests at age 45, say, at the peak of your career. And they would be very different when you start thinking about retirement, say around age 60, 65 or so. So this is a compilation of a bunch of authoritative tools. They're not of my creation, but they're actually referenced back to authoritative resources, mostly from the 1940s forward. And so you hear names like Myers-Briggs, you hear names like Dr. Lubomirsky, and so on. So I have brought that all together in the book and on the website so that people have the resources directly. Now, each of these resources is a single solution in a constellation of solutions that you would need to be aware of and to use at your discretion to create the life of your dreams. And what I do is I focus on the process and the repeatability, the continuous improvement of that process at different points in people's lives so that people know this is a tool set they can use throughout their life to attain their goals. You know, in the United States,
Mm.
the pursuit of happiness is written into our Constitution. It says we have the right to pursue it. It doesn't tell you what it is, and it doesn't individualize us. So this helps us bridge that gap by letting us begin to know ourselves better. One of the issues there is we come into the world with certain preconceived notions, acculturation by family, the institutions we are exposed to early in life. And we have more of an emotional basis of thinking as young people than we do objective, clear thinking, critical thinking, if you want to think of it that way. So one of the challenges is to know yourself better in a more factual sense, to move from emotion and instinct to fact-based reasoning, which is fairly well proven to be much more dependable and results oriented than our emotional knee-jerk responses. And to do that, there's a whole series of personality profiles that can be brought to bear to help an individual convert what they think and how they feel into a sense of really who they are. And this includes things like, what is my risk tolerance? Do I not like risk too much? Or am I a person who is pretty good at weighing risk and taking some chances in life? And it also introduces the concept of the Maslow's hierarchy of scale, where happiness as a generic term becomes happiness, which is pretty much the middle of the pyramid. Fulfillment or meaningful life is more at the top, and the pursuit of wisdom is at the very top. So it really clarifies the confusion that you see in the public press and in vertical solutions about the terminology of happiness. Um, so once you know that, you have a position of saying, well, now I know better who I am. So what can I do with that? Well, number one is to do that, you need to understand a little bit about the environment you live in. And I speak to the US environment and the English language because that's my background.
Mm.
It's the process is equally applicable probably anywhere, but it would have to be tweaked for the local environment. So worldwide, one of the things you need to understand is that information and certain technologies are in what we call an exponential growth mode. And unfortunately, industries like agriculture, manufacturing, and even our education of ourselves, in other words, the human thinking and learning process, these are all linear. And so there's a great departure in terms of our ability to capitalize on the explosive information that is actually out there. So we use computers, we use server farms, we use browsers. We will ultimately wind up using algorithms and potentially artificial intelligence to help us bridge the gap between our linear processes and the exponential information that's available. This also points out that a human's education will actually expire, be superseded, or overwritten over a very quick amount of time. Estimates are that an engineering degree, a bachelor's degree in the US, is only good for 5 years before the information becomes changed, superseded, or proved to be wrong. So it points out the need for continuous education on all of our parts to succeed and also to achieve our goals. It also helps when you look at, the wage economy that you live in, what it takes to have a lifestyle, including all the expenses that you would endure, the choices to have a family, to have children, where to live, and how you do that. It also makes you want to look at the workplace, the possibilities there in terms of what kind of job matches up with who I want to be and serves my purpose, at the same time provides me a living wage or can drive me to be a wealthy person if that happens to be my goal. So so what we've done now is say we know ourselves better, we understand our environment, so now we can make good decisions around life's variables and constraints. And so what we can now do is say, well, I want to establish a growth mindset and a vision for my life. I want to take control of it and design it as opposed to let myself be buffered around by circumstances. So what you can do then is actually prioritize and brainstorm what you want in life. And this is your core being. This has nothing to do with duty to family or country or anything like that. It's only about the individual. And the personality profiles that we recommend you do actually help you do that. It helps you identify constraints that you have to address. not ones that will kill your plan, but ones you need to work around. It helps you actually create a plan that has priorities to it. You don't want to do everything, and you don't want to do it all at once. And in fact, the constraints kind of force you to do this over a period of time. And so it is truly, year on year, decade on decade, you're building this life that you want to have. So this allows you, in essence, to take control of that life of design and avoid the waste of running down blind alleys, wasting money, wasting your own personal resources, time, and attention. So it makes you much more effective than you would normally be if you go through the process and do these different identifications. So once you built that plan, what do? Well, you need to work that plan. You need to do what you said. Maybe you're at the point you need to get your college education done, or you need to take technical training. So you need to work that plan, and you work the priority few parts. So let's say you have 10 goals. In the Pareto rule, that's the old 80-20 rule, the top two goals are really important for you to focus on until they either prove improper or you've completed them, and then you can fleet up another goal. Uh, Perfection is not the objective here. It's staying focused on those Pareto ideas. So you try your plan. You try it. Maybe you fail. Maybe you succeed. Maybe it's superseded by your thinking that, well, I didn't really prioritize that correctly, and I really am more interested in doing this. So there's changes involved. At different parts in your life, you'll recalibrate these priorities because, frankly, a marriage, a move, a change of career, a death in the family, any of those things will be kind of a speed bump from which one needs to recover. And that's likely to change how your plan is viewed by yourself and how you want to execute it. And then the habit of redoing the plan and recalibrating it gets you to think about strategic and continuous improvements. And I must say that this requires some confidence in the process. After reading the book and seeing the website and knowing that other people are doing this, you can acquire that confidence. And once you've done the basic information gathering and done the process yourself, it will instill that confidence in you that you really know who you are, what you want, and how to get there. And so the other thing too is we teach people where those uh, expert information sources actually are, whether it's an individual, a process, a personality profile, or whatever. That's all on our website and it's in the book. And more importantly, we try to help people understand how to stay focused. As I mentioned before, perfection is not the goal. It's the Pareto 20% that delivers 80% returns. And so Pareto is a good rule. There's one called the diminishing point of returns when you've put in a lot of effort, you've gotten a lot back, but it's beginning to plateau in terms of its return. It's time to look for an additional initiative that will get you back on a steeper curve where your effort is being rewarded appropriately. And you can think of other business terms like return on investment, your time. There's one that we also like to recommend, which is called the Johari window, to help you overcome the idea of, I don't know what I don't know. And all of us have this issue to resolve about what we don't know at every stage of life. So again, it gives you skill sets to help you understand that. So if you run this from start to finish, say somebody who's, 18 years old, graduating high school, it helps them decide, well, do I need tech training or should I go to college? How much college is appropriate? What do I think initially my career interest might be? And as a young person, most of this is focused on basic things, a career choice, a choice about family at some appropriate time, marriage, whatever, and maybe even a choice about do I want to do it here where I grew up, or do I want to be in another city or another state or another country? The issues as a mature adult, when they're in career mode, are quite different. It's typically about maximizing economics, maximizing your autonomy, maximizing your contribution to work and the returns coming back to you, and the quality of your life, and the fact that your life you want your life in balance. And life work balance is, of course, in a state of flux and viewed differently by the four generations that are in the US workforce. So let me stop there and see if you have any questions I can answer for you.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Mr. James. I would just like to ask if there are any new disciplines, new things you think people will need to master in the coming future, sir.
Uh, I would say one of the most difficult things to master is,
Mm,
if you look at the world and the way we communicate now, because we have the internet and we have a lot of things available on the internet, both that are, replace, interpersonal communications, but also show you businesses and things to buy and so forth. There's a concept called white noise, which interferes with you staying focused. And I think, along with the trying to moderate your attention on the white noise so that you stay focused, is also the fear of, can I do this? Uh, if you don't know about the lifelong fulfillment process, a normal teenager probably is not going to be exposed to the fact that they can be confident in their ability to make it in the world. With lifelong fulfillment being part of that equation, there's more real confidence capable, not based on emotional reactions or parental support or, the institutions of schools, but based on your own feeling about your future. I think overcoming the fear is terribly important, and establishing some focus that is not overrun by all the white noise in the world allows you to say, yes, I can do that, and I can figure out how to stay focused and achieve my goals.
mm. Thank you so much, sir. And when it comes to people, probably struggling, who wants to keep on achieving their goals, who wants to keep up, to become more successful and to become even more disciplined today, what advice do you think you can give, sir?
If we're trying to continue to achieve our goals, one of the things, after 40, 50 years of using this, it's all in my head. For
Hmm.
most people, you have to use process and write these things down. In the book and on my website are worksheets that you would use. And you always keep these worksheets because they're your history and they're readily available for you to refer back to. uh, Getting in the habit of setting goals, setting tactics, and doing things about that, regardless of what they are, or what you are trying to achieve, will really help people who maybe are driven more by emotion, maybe have trouble focusing, so that they can actually execute and they can look at their list and say, well, did I do this? How do I feel about it? And what do I derive from that feeling or the results to inform what I do next and how I should feel about it? And did it help me reach another level? And obviously, we're not always successful at that. And there are the speed bumps in life that will interrupt or slow us down temporarily. But we have the confidence with the process behind us to be able to get through those particular upsets and move on with it. So I highly recommend you document everything you're thinking about. The book will show you how to do that. It walks you through each step sequentially, as we've discussed here today, and has you write it all down. And then it gives you something you can review. You can go back and say, well, was that the best solution at that point in time? But I don't like it now. So let's redo that for today's issues and see if it holds the same credibility for me personally.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Mr. James. And there is a question I normally ask her from the ancestors, from the forefathers. If there is anything you would like to bring back to our time today, what do you think that thing would be, sir?
Well, I would just like anyone who hears this podcast or reads the book or looks at the website to understand that they can be authentically themselves and they can lead a life of achievement and fulfillment and self-actualization, uh, regardless of what stage they're at. They can be a teenager, they could be a mature adult, they can be a person looking at retiring. Each of these are inflection points in our lives. And if I do nothing else, if I inspire someone to at least look at those options for themselves, then I'm very happy and I judge that as success. And I'd like people to have that opportunity for themselves. I know it's been very great for me, so I'd like to see them have that opportunity as well.
Hmm. I hope they do so. I want to personally thank you, Mr. James, for your time, for giving every details of explanation needed. Because I actually checked my question and I saw you've ticked everything. You've answered 95% of it. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, thank you for having me on board, and I look forward to seeing it, as a podcast later. So
Sure, sure, sure. Have a wonderful day, sir. Bye bye.
bye bye now.